Story 1. I was always skeptical of the exercise or taking a walk comments. However, simply taking a daily walk to get away from everything has done wonders for me. Story 2. If you think everyone else dislikes you, you probably need to sleep. If you think you dislike everyone else, you probably need to eat. Story 3. Exercising or any form of physical activity has significant benefits. While getting active can be challenging, especially when you're feeling unmotivated, committing to your fitness routine can greatly enhance your mental well-being. Additionally, making healthier eating choices can contribute positively to your overall health. Story 4. The other day, I told a guy at the coffee shop in a depressed tone, I thought it was Thursday and just realized it's actually Wednesday. In my head, I was expecting Friday tomorrow. He replied, "You just got an extra day of life. What are you going to do with it?" I didn't do much with it, but I appreciated it that much more. Story 5. Sobriety. I thought life would be boring without substances, but it has improved my quality of life unbelievably. Story 6. Your therapist is there to hear all the things you don't want to say, but you have to actually express them to receive their help. They cannot help if they do not truly understand what is going on. Additionally, you may need to meet with a few therapists to find the right one for you, and that is perfectly fine. Story 7. I get paid the same amount of money regardless of how stressed I am at work. As things pile up and the workload increases, it is unfortunate. I am calm and doing the best I can, and I do not get paid more for becoming upset. Story 8. Teaching myself not to dwell on things I have no control over and taking 100 milligrams of sertraline every morning. Story 9. Go outside and feel the sun, get fresh air, and enjoy the beautiful scenery, such as flowers or trees. Definitely go for a walk. Story 10. Practice gratitude by jotting down 3 things you are grateful for in a gratitude journal every day. If you are having a bad day and cannot think of anything to feel grateful for, flip through past entries in the journal for inspiration. Within a month or two, this gratitude journal practice can elevate your overall well-being. Story 11. Admitting I needed a higher level of care was challenging. Receiving coordinated care that included a physician, psychiatrist, family therapist, individual therapist, and, in my case, a dietitian for an eating disorder, all working together to provide the support I needed saved my life. Combining this with dialectical behavior therapy helped me understand how emotions function and influence the world. I thought I understood, but it seems that both my past self and, to some extent, my current self, along with many others, often navigate their emotions without clarity. This realization can be frightening at times. Story 12. Get off social media. Reddit is less social media for me and more a source for news and hobbies. I don't use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Truth Social. I have the phone numbers for my friends and family. If I want to know what's going on with them, I text or call them. Not knowing what random people are doing and not getting upset over trivial matters online will keep you sane. Story 13. If the situation is currently happening, such as anxiety or panic, lying down, closing your eyes, and focusing entirely on your breath can be quite helpful. It's not like taking a fast-acting medication, but it does help you return to a calmer state. Another thing I remind myself is that I am not my thoughts. I am the consciousness that observes my thoughts. You can observe a thought or an emotional experience and just let it pass. Also, remember that a lot of the strategies mentioned here require consistency and time. You don't need to be perfect, but try to be consistent. Change will happen slowly, and after a month or two, you might realize that you feel better. Too often, people give up on activities like walking, journaling, creative ventures, and breathing exercises because they are not immediately effective. Give it some time. Story 14. I'm not sure if it counts, but my friend once told me the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. He basically told me that I am putting more effort into hating my dad than he ever did into loving or even thinking about me. My dad was indifferent to me, and I should be too. He does not deserve the attention he never gave me. Story 15. Stop drinking alcohol. I initially scoffed at the idea, but now I am no longer constantly anxious. I wake up feeling good and no longer feel as depressed. I am calm. Lifestyle changes have truly helped. Story 16. Taking a walk really helps me. I just started doing it and I honestly don't know why it helps, but it does. Walking off the adrenaline and getting fresh air makes a difference. Story 17. Taking 5 deep breaths can reset your body's fight or flight response when you feel anxious. I am very anxious, but if I can get through all 5 breaths, it helps. Story 18. Not caring helps you manage your thoughts. Many events occur that are beyond your control. You can only control your reaction to them and how long you allow them to occupy your mind. When you stop worrying about things you cannot influence, you can concentrate on the things that truly matter to you. This results in a much shorter list of concerns. Story 19. Psychiatric hospitals are not as terrifying as they seem, and realizing this and seeking help when needed has probably saved my life. Story 20. Be assertive, but not in a harsh manner. Learn to say no and don't let others take advantage of you. Spreading yourself too thin will leave you with nothing left to give. The only individuals feeling upset are those who seek to exploit your kindness. The people who genuinely care about you will understand when you set boundaries. Story 21. Give yourself time. Bad breakup? It won't feel so bad in a year. Death in the family? Pain becomes easier to manage the further away it gets. The only guarantee in life is that it changes all the time, and then you die. Anytime I feel like something is the worst emotional pain I have ever felt, I remember that these feelings will eventually change, subside, be forgotten, evolve, and take many other twists and turns. Horrendous things happen, and they won't ever stop happening. There is no way to change that. When people say time heals all wounds, they actually mean time will give you space to see your past with kinder eyes. If things are really difficult for you right now, just do the best you can with what you have, breathe, and try to make it to midnight. Also, getting sober changed my life. I never knew life could be this easy. If you are drinking to cope, you need to stop. Drinking just halts the process. And I will tell you what, the mailman always comes knocking eventually. Story 22. Having well-balanced, structured meals throughout the day truly helps to keep my mood stable. I noticed a pattern where I tend to feel really depressed or anxious, and this can carry into my evening if I go hungry during the day. Story 23. Prioritize. If you have too much on your plate, focus on what matters most and what needs to be done. Adjust your expectations and energy investment accordingly. When I was in college, I struggled with depression and had taken on too many commitments. After deciding on my priorities, I quit my part-time job and reduced my efforts in a required elective class. I redirected that energy to what was truly important, and it made a significant difference. Prioritizing has greatly enhanced my mental health and helped me find relief. Story 24. When I feel extra irritable or sad, I use the HALT method. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired to evaluate what I need. Then I reevaluate my level of discomfort after I check those off. Story 25. The physical manifestations of depression and anxiety need to be addressed alongside the mental aspects. Movement should be an integral part of the process. Story 26. Box breathing can shorten a panic attack or interrupt one that is about to start. Exercise is best, but intentionally moving your body in any way every day can help regulate your mood. Story 27. For people who dwell on certain experiences, such as being abandoned by a spouse or parent or losing a child to suicide or addiction, instead of getting stuck in repetitive thoughts, summarize everything into a 2 or 3 sentence narrative. For example, she was very sick and didn't accept the help we offered. She was in a lot of pain, and we did our best to show her different options. This practice helps me avoid focusing on what someone's last moments were like. I repeat my summary like a mantra to replace those thoughts. I may not express it perfectly, but I hope someone understands and benefits from this approach. Story 28. Getting a dog changed my life for the better, specifically a pit bull type. They are the most affectionate, cuddly, big-headed baby snugglers. Story 29. I replaced self-care with routine maintenance, which helped me understand that if I don't take care of myself, I will fall apart like an old beater car. Story 30. I used to think that my thoughts were dictated by circumstances and that I had no control over them. It took me years to realize that I could simply choose not to dwell on the thoughts that made me unhappy, angry, or panicked. Story 31. Sleeping 8 to 9 hours of high-quality sleep each night is the best return on investment activity available. Story 32. You get out what you put in when it comes to therapy. I thought it was nonsense, but I decided to give it one last good shot. I was surprised when it started to work. People are at different stages in their lives and have different experiences. I had tried therapy for years before, and it never stuck. I believe I was fortunate to have a great therapist with whom I had an amazing rapport at just the right time. Story 33. Not me, but a loved one. Try reframing. Would you treat your best friend the way you are currently treating yourself? Would you talk to them the way you are talking to yourself? If not, readjust. Story 34. Journaling. When I was in a huge crisis and totally overwhelmed, my therapist insisted that I journal. I didn't want to. It sounded like childish nonsense to me. I thought there was no way this would help me deal with the overwhelming pain I was experiencing. But she insisted. I gave it a try, and it helped immensely. It felt like I had so much pain on various fronts that I couldn't see it all at once. Journaling allowed me to tackle each issue individually, write it down, and store it elsewhere, freeing me from carrying it in my head. That was 15 years ago, and I still journal my way through tough times today. Story 35. People can act unpredictably. It's perplexing to wonder why they behave that way, but then you often remember the reasons and find your peace again. Story 36. I don't know if it's a mental health tip, but there was a comment on TikTok where someone said, "I can't do that. It would take forever." Another person replied, "The time will pass anyway. I think about that all the time." Story 37. Socializing makes me happy. I talk to people randomly or greet those walking by, and it feels nice. I enjoy taking nature walks. Eating healthier or fasting has helped me feel better. Story 38. Keeping a diary and writing helps a lot with anxiety. Have you ever been awake until 3 a.m. because your mind is stuck in a loop and you can't stop overthinking everything? Stop, open a book, and write everything down. You will sleep well after that. Story 39. When you are being mean to yourself, remember the little you. Remember the person you were before the world became scary. The little you did not deserve that and does not deserve it when you speak negatively about them. Story 40. I made the conscious choice to stop being negative and unhappy. I have no reason to be either. I also decided not to panic every time something bad happens. I was in a wreck almost 2 years ago. I could have panicked and been hysterical at the scene. Aside from being a bit disoriented, I was calm. I just asked to get what I needed before the car was towed and called my husband for a way home. I'm finding that panicking does no good. Story 41. If the mental health tips are not effective for you, especially if you are unable to implement them, it may indicate that your mental health challenges are more severe than initially thought. It is important to address this. Advocate for healthcare providers to take action and deliver the care you need and deserve. Executive dysfunction and mental and physical exhaustion are significant symptoms of mental illnesses. Story 42. With regards to medications, less is more. Do not self-medicate, even if you think you are feeling better. Psychiatric medications are serious. Withdrawals can be difficult. Work closely with your doctor if you feel your medications are not effective, or if you need to make changes. In November 2024, I experienced lithium poisoning that required a 5-day hospital stay. Needless to say, I no longer take it. Take it slow, one day at a time. Story 43. Exercise. My depression is pure melancholy about the state of the world, and being outside in nature soothes that for me. There is always yoga if I can't go outside. I freely admit that antidepressants saved me from perimenopause challenges. Story 44. For autistic individuals, unmasking is important. I was even wearing a mental mask to avoid thinking in ways that might reveal my autism. This experience leaves you feeling soulless. Story 45. Make the promise to prioritize your mental health above all else. Pay attention to how it feels to be in your body in different situations with different people. Do you find yourself holding your breath and feeling tense? Or are you open, joyful, calm, and safe. Focus on making choices that enhance your well-being rather than drain it. Is your boyfriend, roommate, or job affecting your happiness? Do what it takes to create a healthy and supportive environment for yourself. Story 46. The only way to end a crisis is through it. Do not become numb. Do not drink alcohol. Do not try to buy your way out. Face it. Let it all out. Feel it all. Write, cry, and scream into a pillow. Consider therapy. Do not be afraid of the psychiatrist. Ask for help. Let people know you are struggling. A lot is lost in isolation. Sunbathe. It is vital. Find faith, not necessarily in religion. Take care of others when you are able, whether they are animals, the elderly, or orphans. They will help you more than you realize. Walk, especially outside. It gets better until it feels bad again. Flat lines are only for the deceased. May we all be well. Story 47. This is unusual, but hear me out. I had terrible anxiety before starting Sertraline. I experienced constant rumination of thoughts, reliving trauma, excessive worrying, and health anxiety. It was at its peak when I would try to sleep. I would lie down, get comfortable, and think of a complicated process. My favorite was building a birdhouse. I would consider how to start, what kind of wood to use, whether to glue it or use nails, how big to make it, and what color to choose. This helped me most of the time. Story 48. Treat yourself like you are someone you love. I used to talk to myself in a negative way. One day I thought, if my friend was struggling like this, would I say the same things? Absolutely not. So now I ask, what would I say to someone I care about? And say that to myself instead. It has made a significant difference. Story 49. You will undoubtedly go through many therapists, but once you find a good one, it will make all the difference in the world. Story 50. Live life the way you want. Good or bad, whatever happens, people always have something to say. Story 51. I have a critical inner voice. When I put myself down or think negatively, my therapist advises me to check the facts. I tend to intellectualize, so when I check the facts, it diminishes my negative thoughts, at least for me. One way I combat insecurity is by checking the facts, and it works wonders. Sometimes my inner voice does not align with how others actually feel about me or how I truly am. Story 52. My therapist advised me to treat my intrusive thoughts like a 12-year-old kicking the back of my driver's seat. They can be as annoying as they want, but I am still the one in control, and they do not get to decide how I act. This perspective has significantly reduced my distress, as I now recognize that these thoughts do not define me. I can act according to my own morals and goals rather than being driven by anxiety. Story 53. Somebody said the same neural pathway you use for anxiety is controlled by gratitude. I am more appreciative and less anxious. Story 54. I tell my monitor that I no longer want to think about something anymore. Either give me a task or a joyful thought. Don't bring that intrusive thought up ever again. It has worked well for over 6 months for 2 memories from my past. We'll see after a year, as I used to spiral about those things at least 3 to 4 times a year. Story 55. Positive inner monologue and self-talk are important. It is a real fake it until you make it approach. I was a very negative person for the longest time, but I eventually got fed up with my mindset and decided to do something about it. Whenever I caught myself thinking negatively about myself, another person, or a situation, I would stop and try to focus on something positive instead. For example, if I found myself being judgmental about someone, I would think of 3 nice things about them. I did the same when I had negative thoughts about myself. It requires conscious effort at first, but eventually, it becomes the default mindset more often than not. A quote that really helped me was from a poet named Neil Hilborn. It goes something like this: whatever you are feeling right now, there is a mathematical certainty that someone else feels the same way at this moment. That is not to say you aren't special. It is to say thank goodness you aren't special. Story 56. I have been practicing a technique I read about called change the radio station. When I have anxious, racing thoughts, I visualize switching to a new radio station. This helps me change my thoughts and focus on something else. The more I practice it, the better it works. Additionally, walking outdoors is beneficial. Story 57. Walking daily has been a routine for months now. Not only does it help me stay in shape, but it also alleviates my depression. I'm much happier now. Story 58. Get out into nature. Dartmoor National Park, where I live, has genuinely saved my life. If it weren't for the ability to experience nature, I would be long gone. Story 59. Talking to your doctor about your feelings is important. It took me 30 years to speak up for myself due to shame. Story 60. Fake it till you make it. Even something as small as smiling tricks the brain into releasing happy chemicals. Story 61. Here is a post I made years ago. It's mistitled as I was using the wrong term, referring to intrusive thoughts instead of rumination at the time. I use this technique consistently. Story 62. If you dislike yourself, take a shower. If you dislike other people, eat something. If you dislike everything and everyone, take a nap. I try to follow this, and it works for me. Your mileage may vary. Story 63. Stop caring so much. Don't watch or read the news if it upsets you. Comparison is the thief of joy. Delete your social media accounts or unfollow people if it is affecting your mental health. Story 64. Who said this? Became a question I asked myself when I fell into a pattern of overthinking or negative questioning. Most of the time, I didn't have an answer, which meant I was going against my own thoughts. This approach has kept me grounded and has likely been my best defense against anxiety. Story 65. Sometimes when you are struggling with depression, focusing on the small joys of everyday life can help you emerge from the darkness. Even if it is something as simple as this cup of coffee tastes really good. Story 66. When you're overthinking and feeling anxious, especially before sleep, close your eyes and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. You can imagine yourself in a specific place or list those things based on the room you're currently in. This practice helps ground me and distracts me from my thoughts. Story 67. You cannot seek reassurance if you are an anxious person. The more you reach out to others asking, "Do you think this pain is normal?" the more you reinforce that you need reassurance. You must accept that you do not know the future and do your best to focus on the present moment. Story 68. Meditation involves 5 minutes of focusing on your breath in the present moment. I also include affirmations such as, "In with peace and joy, I am capable," or "It's okay to do one thing at a time" as I inhale. When I exhale, I think of phrases like, "Out with negativity," and "I release anger, sadness, or whatever I need to let go of." Story 69. Oh Yeah by Roxy Music. As an adult, embrace the concept of finding a comfortable spot on the carpet, lying down, and listening to music while staring at the ceiling and relaxing. Story 70. I learned about a thought-canceling exercise that you can do daily for about 10 minutes, usually before bed. You clear your mind, and when a thought arises, you acknowledge it and then dismiss it to regain clarity. This process continues for 10 minutes. I was feeling anxious and overwhelmed with racing thoughts, and on some nights, it took me a long time to fall asleep. This exercise has helped me dismiss worrying thoughts during the day and prevent negative thoughts from developing into negative moods. By practicing this method, I now feel like I have more control over the chaos in my mind. Story 71. Stop searching for everything online. It's perfectly okay not to know the answers to every question or understand what that symptom means. It has been liberating. Story 72. Mindfulness. Take a walk, go outside, listen to the birds, and feel the wind, even if you can only do it for 1 minute. Story 73. What you think people think of you, what people actually think of you, and what you think about yourself are completely different perceptions and are often incorrect. Stop judging yourself and others based on these beliefs. Story 74. Giving my brain a generic, sitcom-level name like Rebecca or Karen helps me manage intrusive thoughts or bad memories. Every time I get these thoughts, I say aloud, "Rebecca, I cannot do this right now." It significantly helps put a stop to the rumination and prevents my thoughts from spiraling out of control. Story 75. Learn to say no or quit. Of course, do not do it without a parachute or backup plan. However, even putting your mind to it and taking steps to actually change helps your mindset significantly. Story 76. Out loud. Talk to yourself in a private space. If you are aware that you are in a depressed or anxious state, try giving yourself a pep talk and a reality check. Here's an example from my own experience. You are experiencing feelings of insert feelings. Anyone in your situation would feel this way, and it's completely okay. You just need to know a couple of things. As hard as it sounds, feelings aren't fatal. It's actions that matter. Try it out. Story 77. Learn the lesson and then move on. Overly criticizing yourself does you no good. Also, compliment yourself 3 times a day in the mirror while looking into your own eyes. It is a very effective way to rewire your brain. Story 78. As others have said, take a walk. Just go around the block if that's all you can do. A new approach that is helping me a lot, but that I am still learning, is to sit with your feelings. Don't push them away. Instead, breathe into them. Notice where you feel them in your body. Let them exist without ruminating or feeding them, and then let them go. It's much harder than it sounds, but it makes negative feelings a lot less intimidating. Story 79. When you have a list of tasks that keep building up in your mind and start to cause you anxiety, just take action on the first thing that comes to mind. Over time, you will accomplish more tasks and have less anxiety. 10% is always more than 0%, and 10% over 10 times is 100%. Story 80. I was a competitive boxer for years, but this can be applied to anything and anyone. I suffered from a wide range of mental health issues, most notably depression and bulimia. I felt extremely suicidal but didn't truly want to end my life, if that makes sense. I just wanted the pain to stop. I figured out that I could hold off those thoughts if I told myself, I can't end my life until I win this next competition. After that competition, I would remind myself, now I can't end my life until I win this next competition. That way, I won't be a total disappointment when I die. I managed to do this long enough until I received help. Not everyone participates in competitions, but you can tell yourself not to give up until you finish whatever you are doing. Then you can push it off until the next task is complete, and so on. This strategy worked for me. Story 81. When I work from home, I use the Pomodoro technique with 50 minutes of focused work followed by a 10-minute break. During the break, I walk or engage in any physical activity while thinking about goals that excite me. I take a deep breath and drink some water to stay hydrated. Story 82. EFT is a tapping technique that utilizes a specific set of acupuncture points to help release unwanted emotions and traumas. It is highly effective and easy to learn, allowing even children to use it. It has never failed me in all my years of practice. Additionally, it is free and can be done on yourself at any time and place. There are many videos available that demonstrate how to perform it if you prefer to learn visually. You might also search for emotional tapping. You'll be surprised at how effective it is. Story 83. I know the polyvagal theory is discredited, but the framework and some exercises in the book Anchored really helped me. Story 84. Deciding to be confident. People would tell me to be confident, but I wasn't. It was not until I made the decision that things began to make sense. The key word is decide. Story 85. Learning to stop caring about things outside my control. I'm not a fan of self-help books, but forget it completely changed my mindset. Don't let the title discourage you. It's truly a fantastic book. Story 86. People are living their lives and are not trying to upset you. They don't know why you are upset because they are just doing what they do. Once I realized that, it was eye-opening. Sometimes I still get upset, but then I take a breath and remind myself, that's on you, not them. Story 87. The brain appreciates a story with an ending. One reason thoughts can linger in your mind is that you haven't concluded the story. Your brain is still searching for it. Your brain doesn't care if it's even real. It simply needs a resolution. Unfinished tasks or unresolved narratives tend to occupy our thoughts more persistently than completed ones. When you don't provide your mind with a clear conclusion, it keeps returning, seeking resolution. When you can't stop thinking, I have to finish that project. I didn't accomplish enough today at work. Tell your brain, I made good progress today. I've done what I can, and I'll pick up where I left off tomorrow. Now it's time to rest and recharge. Your brain doesn't need the story to be perfect or even true, just complete. This realization has helped me immensely. Story 88. I don't know if this is a mental tip or not. In my mid-20s, my dad took me to the doctor when I was diagnosed with depression. It was a standard doctor's office, but when you're anxious or sad, an office can seem very depressing. There was a sign on the wall that read, "Today, I'm not going to should all over myself." I pointed it out to my dad. A few years later, he would remind me not to should all over myself. I passed that advice along to my friends, their children, and anyone who uses the word should negatively. The positive use is, should I have dessert before or after dinner? Story 89, Eating Healthy. I noticed that people are not paying attention to what they are eating. Most people, when they are depressed, tend to eat unhealthy food, which lacks essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that affect brain function. Story 90. I stopped drinking, and my anxiety dropped almost immediately. That, along with better sleep, has significantly improved my mental health. Story 91. I saw a post about mental resilience, and it really resonated with me. It should be common sense, but the thought had never occurred to me. Now, when I feel anxious or down, I focus on building my mental resilience. Story 92. For me, the basics are simple. Exercise intensely and safely, including weightlifting, eat well, and avoid caffeine and sugar. Story 93. It wasn't a tip, but rather the observation my wife made that I was always really happy and upbeat after a motorcycle ride. She is completely correct. Adrenaline is a great mood shifter. Physical exercise is another factor that works for me, whether it's snow skiing or taking a simple walk along the beach, through a forest, or in a park near home. Story 94. You don't need to spend a lot of money to be happy. Just make sure you have the basics figured out. Treat yourself to nice things once in a while, if and when you can afford it, but I've learned that I am actually happier on the days when I spend no money, because I feel better about myself. Story 95. Cutting alcohol. I have never been an alcoholic, but I used to drink a glass of wine or beer occasionally and would get drunk on weekends. The damage caused by a single glass of alcohol to your mood is significant. It takes days to return to a stable state after just one drink, and the aftermath of getting wasted is even more challenging. Since I completely cut out alcohol, I feel much more emotionally stable. I no longer experience inexplicable mood swings, and my emotional ups and downs are much more manageable. Psychotherapy. Story 96. Join support groups. I was in therapy for years before I finally found a good network of groups, and it is changing everything. Story 97. Depression is a rewiring of your subconscious due to an important change. Therefore, it is essential not to be afraid of it and to focus on what brings you into depression in the first place. Medication can help you distance yourself from your trauma, but it will not do the work for you. Story 98. Get up and get dressed. Don't stay in pajamas all day. It makes a world of difference, coming from someone with severe depression. Story 99. Make the food you eat, even if it is cereal or bacon on a sandwich. Spend some time preparing something. Story 100. You have no control over anyone's perception of what you say. This comment from my therapist changed my life. Story 101. Actually wind down before going to bed. No phone, no television. Just read a book or chat with my husband. At most, play some music. I sleep so well now. It's unbelievable. And I actually wake up without anxiety. Story 102. I have a dog. No matter how I feel or how little energy I have to get out of bed, I must take care of him. He needs to eat and go outside. Somehow, when I feel the worst, he comes up and starts licking me, which always makes me smile. Story 103. Setting small, realistic goals every day. Instead of thinking I had to fix everything, I focused on just one or two things I can realistically handle in a day. Story 104. Short meditations where you try to clear your mind of all negative thoughts and walking, preferably near natural surroundings. Story 105. Exercise, sleep, eat better, consume less alcohol, meet a friend once or twice a week, and pray. These steps gradually transformed my life. Story 106. Changing the way I talk to myself. I don't say negative things to myself anymore. If I wouldn't say it to a friend, I won't say it to myself. My whole life has transformed. No joke. Story 107. Whenever I am feeling down, I try to find something constructive to do, like a random task that needs to be fixed or worked on in the house. The process and feeling of accomplishing something, even if it is small, has been very helpful. Story 108. Spend 5 to 15 minutes doing simple tasks like washing dishes or scrubbing the toilet when you feel overwhelmed by everything that needs to be done. You may not accomplish everything, but it will help clear your mind and create a more manageable space to focus on. Story 109. For me, it was getting a dog. He ignored me, dragged me around on every walk, ate me out of house and home, and cost me a fortune in veterinary fees. However, having another living, breathing being to love and to feel honest love from kept me going through the worst of it. Story 110. If you find yourself being negative and speaking poorly about yourself, stop. Just stop. Find something positive to say instead. No one would talk to their best friends or allow a stranger to speak to them the way you speak to yourself. It's damaging and counterproductive. It doesn't matter if you think it's true or not. All it does is tear you down. It never adds value to your life. This doesn't mean you aren't going to take responsibility for anything. You're just going to acknowledge that you are human and that making mistakes or not being perfect is part of the deal for everyone. So cut yourself some slack and let yourself move on without mentally punishing yourself. Story 111. When I want nothing less than to run, that's when I need it the most. It's a nice little dopamine boost, feeling the sun on my face or listening to the rain, especially when I'm hungover. My dopamine drops so dramatically that I contemplate changing my name and starting a new life as a goat herder somewhere remote. Story 112. Being in nature and the idea that comparison is the thief of joy resonate with me. I still struggle with the latter, but writing this serves as a good reminder. Story 113. My coping mechanism for everything is exercise. People think I'm a fitness enthusiast, which to a degree I am, so much so that I made a career out of it for 16 years. But the reality is, exercise has been the foundation of my mental stability since I was a child. I need it. The happy side effect is that at 40 years old, I am in better shape than people half my age. Story 114. Becoming aware of my negative thoughts and taking action to correct my mindset is important. If I find myself brooding and feeling unhappy, I try to do something kind for someone else. This often helps lift my spirits and brings me back to a lighter, more pleasant mental space. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it is better than doing nothing and remaining in a bad mood all day. Story 115. My therapist liked to remind me that thoughts are not facts. It always helps ground me when my anxiety increases or I am in a strange mood. Story 116. Having a consistent sleep schedule that I can commit to, along with some form of exercise, has made a significant difference. Although exercising can be nearly impossible during a depressive episode, adhering to a strict schedule from 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. has drastically reduced the frequency of these episodes. Story 117. Medication, exercise, even in the smallest amount, fresh air, reading, and reducing time on social media to a minimum were life changers for me. Story 118. Slow down and breathe. A friend got me into swimming, which has made a massive difference. I'm not a great swimmer, but leaving my phone in a locker and just swimming to clear my head makes a significant impact on me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.